This is the City of Hastings Planning Commission meeting, regular meeting for April 28th, 2025, and call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is a oath of office to our newest commissioner, Commissioner Mose, John Mose. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Planning Commissioners. John, if you'd stand up, please. I'm going to go to the other side here. And if you could follow along with me on the sheet here, I'll administer the oath of office for Planning Commissioner. So, I, John Mose,
I, John Mose,
do affirm
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Hastings,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Hastings,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commissioner
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commissioner
for the City of Hastings,
for the City of Hastings,
counties of Dakota and Washington,
counties of Dakota and Washington,
and State of Minnesota,
and State of Minnesota,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and again, welcome, John, to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Approval of the minutes from the March 10th meeting. Commissioners, any comments, corrections, additions, subtractions? All right, if not, we'll consider those to be approved. And we have 3 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing will be Steve, is it Benowitz? All right, Steve Benowitz, special use permit 2025-05, cannabis, 2103 Vermillion Street. And our staff report will be from John Hinsman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. So for the first 2 items we have tonight, they are public hearings, both related to a similar item, and that is a special use permit for cannabis retail sales. So during the first presentation here, I'll go through a little bit more background on the permit, some of the history, and then stick with some of the specifics of the second one here. So the first public hearing that we have tonight is for Steve Benowitz. This would be a special use permit for cannabis retail sales at 2103 Vermillion Street. This is a property right next to the bar. This is what we're looking at here. Highway 61, the bar is located on the yellow outline parcel, and then right in this location here is where the retail facility would be proposed for cannabis. So tonight what we're asking you to do is to hold a public hearing, take comment that may come up, and then review the special use permit application and provide a recommendation to the City Council on this. So a little bit of background on cannabis. On December 2nd of last year, the City Council adopted an ordinance amendment for cannabis and lower potency edible use. This was the second round of cannabis permit ordinance amendments that we went through. About a year ago, we adopted similar types of requirements pertaining to what's termed now low potency edibles. What is a little bit confusing within the code is back in 2023, we approved a number of special use permits pertaining to retail sales of cannabis, but those are now low potency cannabis. These are, there's about 5 or 6 of those within the city. What we're looking at now, and the applications we have before us tonight, are for what I would term full potency cannabis. There's not a restriction that is present on the lower potency cannabis sales tonight. So just a little bit of background on what is different between what we're pertaining to now and what we adopted earlier. Other thing that's important about tonight too is the special use permit and how it complies with other requirements necessary before one sells cannabis. This has been a changing process, and there's a number of different steps involved in it. I think the important factor tonight for the Planning Commission is the approval of the special use permit, recommendation by Planning Commission, adoption by Council, does not necessarily guarantee any entity the ability to sell cannabis. It's really the first in about 3 steps that are necessary to secure cannabis sales in the City of Hastings. What the approval of a special use permit would do would be to allow an applicant to complete the Office of Cannabis Management's application for licensure. And there's a portion of that application which states compliance with local zoning. So if the Planning Commission agrees and the City Council ultimately approves, they would be able to check the box and say, yes, it does meet local zoning requirements for the issuance of a cannabis retail permit. After that, it would go through the Office of Cannabis Management with their application and background checks and so forth, and then they would be eligible to potentially sell. Then comes the second portion of our ordinance. There is the zoning ordinance portion of dealing with cannabis, and then a licensure or registration portion dealing with cannabis. That would come later on in the process. There's similar restrictions in there, similar methodologies for how to regulate the sale of cannabis and so forth. But the one important aspect of the registration is our ordinance as it sits would allow only one retail cannabis business within the city. So even though we have 2 applications tonight, and perhaps we may have more in the future, under our code, we can only allow the issuance of one registration of cannabis. Now, this is not a decision that the Planning Commission needs to make tonight, nor does the City Council ultimately need to make it with the zoning aspect to it. But once we get to the registration, there will need to be a determination of how that will be issued. So just wanted to provide that background information. So it's a kind of a multi-step version that we're dealing with here. With all special use permits, we have a notification of public hearing. So we sent notice out to all property owners within 350 feet. I did not get any comments specific to this application here prior to the meeting. Looking at our zoning and land use for the property is classified commercial, and our comprehensive plan in Zone C3 regional commerce in our zoning code. So under the zoning code, cannabis is allowed as a special use, so it is allowable with the permit. Looking at the property itself, we are surrounded by other C3 commercial uses. Everything surrounding and abutting this property is commercial already, with O'Reilly Auto Parts to the north, CenturyLink's property to the east, Rivertown Event Center to the south, and then Vermilion Street and Las Margaritas on the other side of the property here. So cannabis sales would occur within that small portion of the building itself, like a little over 1,000 square feet. It's next to the bar, owned by the same entity as the bar. Bar, as you know, has been in operation for a number of years, and the proposed space for the cannabis retail operation was last used as a bottle shop a few years ago. So special use permit review. Under our code, we allow cannabis under zoning as a special use permit. We establish certain performance standards as well for retail facilities. One of those would be the operation, limited to 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. And also, they cannot violate the public nuisance ordinance, which is a wide-ranging ordinance dealing with nuisances. There's also certain distance requirements that are established for the operation of the cannabis facility as well, based upon its location near other facilities, schools, sites that are attractive to minors, and other treatment facilities. So looking at those requirements, the site does meet the 1,000-foot minimum distance requirement between cannabis uses. It's more than 500 feet from a school or residential treatment facility, and it is more than 500 feet from a playground or athletic field, court, picnic area, or restroom, pavilion, or park building, or disc golf. These are entities that we have established within our code that would be attractive to children. Now, when you look at the property itself, you'll notice that Vermilion Falls Park is located not too far to the north, and indeed portions of the park are within 500 feet. In consultation with our city attorney, we looked at the facilities within the park, and the facilities that I mentioned none of those are within 500 feet, so it does meet those requirements. It does meet the parking requirements as well, and a security plan has been submitted, has received cursory review by our police chief. We will have a condition of approval that there's a final review and review of the premises before operation as well. So those are the requirements that we have specific to cannabis sales within the code. We also have our general requirements pertaining to special use permits, which I noted within the report and then in red detailed how this application meets them. In general, there's not going to be much change to the exterior of this building and the functioning of this building itself. When you're taking a look at special use permit requirements, most of these are really not applicable. The ingress and egress to the property is adequate. It's been served as retail in the past. There's adequate off-street parking facilities. refuse and service areas are present, utilities are fine. Signage does have some specific requirements which will be noted in the special use permit for requirement. So we are recommending approval of the special use permit with the conditions within your staff report itself. I think a couple of things to note on that one is it's conditioned upon obtaining a license for retail cannabis sales through the Minnesota Office of Cannabis Management, registering the license for cannabis sales with the city clerk's office, adherence with the codes that we have, and subject to a sunset clause provision. So I believe the applicant, Mr. Benowitz, is here tonight if you have any question for him, or you may open the public hearing at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. We will go ahead and open the public hearing. All right, if there's anybody here that wishes to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? Oh, okay, sure. We got one behind you as well.
First of all, it's nice to meet all of you. My name is Steve Benowitz. The address is 2103 Vermillion Street. I've been a business owner here in town since 1976. So I've been here, next year will be 50 years. I'm very grateful that back in '76, the city of Hastings granted me that liquor license, and now I'm here to apply for a cannabis license. And it's very important for me to make sure this is done properly. What I mean by that is to make sure that state and federal laws are carried out in the business. Best practice also carried out in the business, and I personally am going to take the time to make sure that all of this is done properly. I just want to introduce Jen Siebel. She's our GM there. She's been there for quite a few years. She's very thorough, very organized, and a good person, and I trust her immensely. But anyways, I'm here, like I say, to try to get her. Hopefully, we'll get the cannabis license, and I'm sort of semi-retired now, but Hastings is very important to me because it was, like I say, it was my first license I received back 50 years ago. So again, it's very crucial to me that this is done properly, and I'm going to personally take the time out to make sure that this is done properly. Again, make sure that the laws are carried through properly, insurance and everything, and spend time there, again, to make sure the laws and the staff and everybody does the things that they're supposed to do. I've been in business for, I don't want to say how long, a long time. And my son and I, and we're in, we have a business called Craft and Crew Hospitality. And under the umbrella, we have 7 restaurants right now. And we're in the process of opening up the 8th one next month in Rogers, Minnesota. I'm not here to brag, because that's the last thing I do, and that's the last thing I want to do. But I'm here to say, the reason why I'm saying that is I just want to, I've been through a lot of things in business, and it's true that the cannabis business I don't know a lot about. But when I first started in business, I didn't know a lot about anything, meaning in the business, and I learned as I went along. And again, I want to reiterate that I'm going to take the time out to make sure that everything is done properly. I'm here to hopefully get the license, and I'm here to just say that I'm going to do everything in my power, if we do get the license, to make sure that everything is done right. And I've been in the business a long time, and again, we've been through a lot of things, and I don't give up easily, and I want to make sure everything is done the proper way. And I don't know if Jen, if you want to say anything. What's that? Well, anyways, she's a really good girl, really good person, and again, I trust her, and she's, again, very organized and extremely thorough. That's one of the reasons why I want to do this, because it's hard to find people that you really can trust in this business, and she's very trustworthy, and I give her 100% of my, I'm just 100% behind her. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
No, not at this time, but
Okay.
we'll call you back up if we
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. And gentlemen in the back row there, did you want to speak?
Thank you. I just wanted to,
Can you do me a favor and state your name and your
oh, my
address?
apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah, Josh Bruns, 3337 47th Avenue South, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just wanted to note that Mr. Hinsman did cover the distance requirements, but I just wanted to enter this into the record, just for record's sake. If you guys would just note for me, please, 155J 5D2C, it's just the distance requirements. 500 feet from an attraction within a public park that is regularly used by minors. So I just want to quote specifically, and that might include, may or may not, a pathway that is marked as an entryway or the entrance into Vermilion Falls Park. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? All right, anyone on Zoom? Are we using Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And we will open it up to commissioners for any comments, dialogue, questions? Commissioner Sweeting?
I'm pretty sure John said this, but for very clear clarification here, we are not deciding which permit is going to be used in the end. Right now, we are just deciding that each special use permit will be administered today.
Correct. There's be no final determination based upon the registration by planning commission or city council during this process. That would be a separate portion, but just highlighting that for something to be determined down the road.
Thank you.
John, I just need some clarification. So section 2 there, C, where you talked about it and that gentleman talked about more than 500 feet from an attraction within a public park. And I know you consulted the city attorney and she said it didn't seem to violate, but I just wanted to get some clarification on that because when I read it, it does say regularly used, but not limited to a playground, regularly used by minors such as, but not limited to a playground, athletic field, athletic court, picnic area, which doesn't need to have anything, it could just be an open area. Or restrooms, pavilion, or park building, disc golf features, as each is measured from the location of the public park attraction to the use. And so that was the part that I had a question on as to how she came to the conclusion that that would not violate. I need a little bit more specifics as to what portions do not, of Vermilion Park do not fall under that. Because I do see that open area in there that could be used for that. You throw a blanket down, you have a picnic.
Sure.
So I'm wondering how she made that determination that that did not fall under that 500-foot rule, that area.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the map here, this is Vermilion Falls Park in this location. When I consulted with the city attorney, we were looking for facilities within this park that may meet the requirements of being 500 feet or less. The closest thing that we could find would be, this is the pavilion area, I believe, of the park right there. That was, I think, close to 600 feet away from that. So there are spaces that are open within here, but there's not any formal facilities that are designated or identified in that area. So it was our conclusion that it met the requirement.
Okay. All right, so it's the designation, the official designation of that area.
Right.
The legal determination.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners? Any other questions? No other questions? Oops, get my mic on here. No other questions? No comments? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion, if you're ready.
Motion to approve the permit for, oh my goodness, name. A permit for the bar's special use permit cannabis retail sales by Steve Benowitz with the listed recommendations outlined by staff.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve special use permit 2025-05. That's okay, 2103 Vermillion Street. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second, Commissioner Peters. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The recommendation will be brought forward to the City Council at their May 5th meeting for final action. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, all right, second public hearing. This is for Joshua, is it Bruins? Not here tonight? Okay. All right, sounds good. Minneapolis Kombucha, special use permit 2025-07, cannabis, 215 Ramsey Street. And again, we have John Hinsman with the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. The basis of this application is similar to the last one. This is a special use permit consideration today for retail sales of cannabis. This location is 215 Ramsey Street, located in the downtown area. The applicant is Joshua Bruns from Minneapolis Kombucha. The property is owned by Surrey Group LLC and located here at 215 Ramsey Street. It's right near the corner of Ramsey and 3rd Street. It takes up half of this building here. This is kind of an unusual property in which this portion of the property in yellow is owned by Surrey, and the property to the north is owned by the Hastings Economic Development and Redevelopment Authority. These parcels within the parking lot area are jointly owned and subject to a joint parking and use agreement. So we share the parking on this property with the neighbor to the south, and that's a little bit of an unusual situation that we have there. Actions we're asking for you today are similar: hold a public hearing and review the application, provide a recommendation to the City Council. So I won't go through some of the background on cannabis. Issuance of the special use permit is similar in that the approval of a special use permit does not necessarily guarantee the right for one to operate tonight. It provides the opportunity for one to check the box for the Office of Cannabis Management. Once their review is complete, it would come back to the city via a registration process, and then at that time, under our code, only one retail cannabis operation would be allowed. So I'll bring that up again. Notification to public hearing, similar on this, out to all Sinclair, who's the owner of the property directly across the street. National Facility Solution stated some concerns about the operation of this facility within the downtown area, and in particular in the proximity of Hastings Prescott Arts Council, which is located within, as a leasee within our building that Hedra owns directly to the north. So I do bring that forward for the record here. No other comments that we've received at this time. Comprehensive plan and zoning is similar to the other proposal. It is designated mixed use, like the remainder of downtown. Property is zoned C3, similar to the other property, allows for retailers of a special use permit for retail cannabis on the site. Surrounding the site, mostly commercial businesses. You've got HPAC's offices that are leasing to the north. You've got a vacant home, which is located directly to the east, but that home is Zone C3 and has been vacant for some time and has been the subject of a redevelopment plan in the past. To the south, we do have Mississippi Terrace, which is a senior housing community, and to the west, National Facilities Solutions. Background of the permit here is similar to the one we shared earlier. The one notable difference is within the downtown areas, the setback requirements that I reiterated earlier, the businesses are exempt. So there is no setback requirements from the items that I listed earlier pertaining to treatment facilities, schools, park facilities, those types of things. So that does not come into play in this area. The site does meet minimum parking requirements, and a security plan has been submitted and has been initially reviewed and approved by the Chief of Police. Special use permit requirements, the general ones that I've noted within the report, there's not going to be much change to the exterior of the building. It serves a lot of the requirements right now with meeting ingress and egress, off-street parking, refuse service, utilities, and the like. So there really isn't anything significant to note there, other than the cannabis permit does have a restriction on signage, and that's been added to the recommendations for approval for the special use permit. So staff is recommending approval of the special use permit following with the requirements that are within your report. There's 11 conditions that are listed there. Mr. Bruns, the owner of the proposed business, is here tonight if you have any questions for him, or you may open the public hearing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. And we will go ahead and open the public hearing. All right, is there anyone here that wishes to speak? Including, go ahead, sir. Come on up. Name and address.
Good evening. I'm Scott Northard. I live at 716 West 2nd Street. I'm the treasurer for the Hastings Prescott Arts Council. And as Mr. Hinsman pointed out, we are leasing the property at 213 Ramsey, adjacent to this building, to that part of the building. We actually have been working in the property to get it ready for a grand opening on May 17th. We're going to be conducting art lessons there for many students, including minor children. We're going to use that property also for supporting the Hastings Prescott Arts Council and our meetings that we have, but we also are the fiscal sponsor for the Rivertown Band, the new River Valley Choir that has been formed, and then now the orchestra, which is just coming together. And the River Valley Band actually uses that property to store their music and other things. So we have a lot of traffic going in and out, and a number of the people that will be using the building are minors, minor students, and a big part of our initiative there will be to conduct art lessons, and we envision a lot of other things as HPAC continues to grow. We've been around since, I believe, 2008, serving the community. We worked closely with HEDRA and others to create the Arts and Culture Commission. The city sponsors that now, and we're really trying to grow the arts in Hastings. And we just don't have a problem with cannabis per se, but the location of this is, and the proximity to our building and our intended uses just doesn't seem to fit. So I wanted to make sure we brought that up today so that the Planning Commission was aware of that and would consider that in any discussions you have regarding this use of the building for cannabis purposes. I don't know how well developed the laws are yet for cannabis in Minnesota. It's still a fairly new thing. But if you think about edibles and other things and in the vicinity of minor students, I know there's been a lot of discussion among parent groups and school groups about trying to control that around children and not make it attractive to them. And it just seems like this is just not a good fit for this building. So I just wanted to make sure I brought that up today. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Barb Hollenbeck. I live at 212 East 2nd Street, and not only am I a property owner, I live downtown. My toy store, SC Toys, is located downtown as well. And so I also have similar reservations as Scott Northard about the closeness to the property and my toy store. I have kids in and out all day long, and I know the downtown area is exempt from some of the parameters in the ordinance, which I still find disturbing because I do have kids in and out all the time. And a lot of kids coming down from Seas that would pass right by the dispensary or subject property. Another issue that I would like to bring up is the senior housing and the density in our neighborhood. So I just don't feel that the dispensary would be a good fit with all the residential units that are available, and I am one of them that I do live downtown. which I love downtown, and it's a great place to live. So I just think the density, it could be an issue. Just seems like it should be more in a commercial area away from residents, just in my viewpoint, of course. And then another note that I was looking around the neighborhood, and we have the AA club, which there again, the downtown area, this particular building is exempt from the 5-foot barrier from residential treatment programs. But AA is certainly not a residential treatment facility, but it is there to help people with addiction problems. And many times when people are attending the meetings, they will park right on that street, on Ramsey and 3rd Street, and have to converse to the building from their car in that area. So I think it's just a detriment to those people seeking sobriety. And then also, because I live downtown, I know a lot of my neighbors. I know there's a lot of neighbors downtown that are chemically dependent. And then to put another resource when they have had convictions and trying to get away from drugs and alcohol, to put another source of temptation next to them is, I feel, detrimental. So I just don't feel, and then of course with our downtown, and we've been working for the past eons, it seems like, to bring in family-friendly entertainment, and this is certainly an adult use and could have an impact on those family-friendly activities. So I'm not in favor of this going forward or being approved, and I just wanted to make my voice heard and raise some concerns that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, come on up.
Hi, my name is Kathy O'Keefe, and I live at 1560 Tierney Drive, and I'm the president of HPAC, which is housed right next door. And I think Scott just so clearly expressed all of our feelings about finding out that our new neighbors would have, be offering things that we didn't feel were appropriate for the use of our building. We just have visions for lots of children being able to come in. Like Scott said, we started in 2008. We've been working really hard to be promoting arts in our community and offering a lot of free classes and free events, and it just was surprising to hear and Tippy's is our wonderful neighbor. I mean, it's all just working out so well to find out that quickly that may change as we are looking at opening our vision that we had for this building. So I too am in opposition of having that kind of use as our neighborhood partner. So I think that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Come on back. Yep, come on up.
Hi again, Josh Bruns, 3337 47th Avenue South. I just want to I appreciate you guys' comments. I would like to just put into the record a letter and a security plan that I submitted. I encourage you to email John so you can read that over. I do address a lot of those issues. I would just like to say that I took City as a work of art at the uni, and including a very walkable city that embraces the arts is something that I hold to a very high standard, or thing that should be part of the city to create a city. I hope that you don't exclude this business because of its particular use. I think there's definitely a lot of variance and opinions about how that use may occur. I just want to say we're not a place where people will use. That is definitely still against city code. And all of the other points that you brought up, absolutely, there's something that I would want to address directly, each and every one of those, in order to quell to the best of our ability. But at the same time, want to allow this business an opportunity to prove itself and not be categorized prematurely. As far as walkability, I think, and traffic of children, Signage is a big part of, actually, a great study is from St. Paul and their distance requirements. There's a retail section that's about 10 pages that I think should be submitted into the record because it addresses a lot of these issues. As far as advertising is concerned, most sales from cannabis retail stores are via online advertising, so we are definitely not going to be having, it's going to be incognito signing for sure. And as a condition to the use, I think that is absolutely a condition that I would place on this business for its particular location. As far as a detriment, I hope that there's definitely ups and downs to this new industry in implementing, and it's special use for a reason. But I hope that, I'm not to say that the best for the most amount of people is a way to, make choices, but I think that there's definitely a lot of folks that might be supportive. And please reach out to my information submitted to the city for further concerns, again, so we can address these directly. And if you come up with more things, as I'm sure we will over the next coming weeks, to quell these concerns, mitigate these concerns best we can. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay, anyone on Zoom? Nope. Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. And we'll open up to commissioners. Commissioner Halbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John, quick question, clarification. Oliver's Grove, what is the formal designation of that? Is that considered kind of like a park area? Is that, I'm just curious, because I know that there's many youth that hang out downtown and hang out at Oliver's Grove.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner, I don't know specifically. It is owned by the city. It was once purchased by the HRA for redevelopment purposes, but after a period of time with the improvements that occurred there, it's being used as a park. So I would consider it a park, although it may not be designated such. It does appear on our park map.
Okay. Do we know the distance? Would that be within the 500 feet?
I think it would be, because when I originally looked at distance requirements, I looked at that and went, ooh, that one's going to be within 500, and then realized that the downtown area is exempt from those distance requirements, so it would be a moot point.
Okay. I do share a lot of the concerns that community members brought up as well with this particular application. So I'm open to hear other conversations with the commissioners.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Albert. Commissioner Peters?
Thank you, and I have to say that I agree with Commissioner Hallberg. I think special use permits are brought to us so that we can give them consideration. And with the downtown core being exempt from some of the setback requirements, it makes sense. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an opportunity for a business like this to go in the downtown core. However, knowing that this would be co-located in a building where, from what I'm understanding, a lot of the main traffic is minors, I don't think this makes practical sense. I think it's what we're trying to avoid when bringing in cannabis industry into the city. We want to allow for it, but not put it in the hands of minors, try to keep a protective barrier. And I think that this particular location doesn't make practical sense.
All right, thanks, Commissioner Peters. Commissioner Sweeting?
I have a question for John about a different park, which is Depot Park. How close is it to that? Because that is more concerning to me than Oliver Grove.
Commissioner, the blocks within downtown are generally around 300 feet wide. So if you take a look at the block on the screen there, about a block and a half distance is where you're going to get to 500 feet. So the Depot Park would be pretty close, if not within 500 of that.
Oh, thank you. All right, Commissioner Mose?
Well, John, I do have a quick question too about the reasoning for the exemptions for this particular type of business in the downtown corridor. I'm surprised that, or a couple of questions. I'm new, so maybe it's been brought up before, but was there a rationale or a reasoning why this particular type of business would be exempt from those conditions that are, you know, the first applicant was subject to? I guess I'd be more inclined to, or like to know some of that reasoning.
Sure. Commissioner, when the city council was considering rules for cannabis sales and looking at setback requirements, we put together some maps showing distances from certain items, from the schools and parks and so forth. When you put those setbacks into the downtown area, it prohibited the potential sale of cannabis within the downtown. And so the city council reviewed that and wanted to have the opportunity for cannabis sales to occur within the downtown area. So I believe that's why the exemption came forward.
Right, thanks, Commissioner Mose. Commissioner Sweetie?
Just for point of clarification on when we did make those, or like those decisions were made, the exemptions were that not even an application within those buffers would come across our plate, right? Like if it was within 500 feet of a park without the exemption, there would be no application, correct? Not that we couldn't approve or disapprove, like get added.
Right, we would not be able, if the setback requirements were present within the downtown area, if an application was made, there would be no way we could approve it without a change to that ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Hubbard?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair. I'd make the motion to reject the special use permit 2025-07 cannabis at 215 Ramsey Street based on concerns of distances to parks. I know it's not part of the setbacks, but I don't think it's appropriate for the location it's going into.
Okay, I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. And any further discussion? Okay. I do have one thing that I want to bring up.
I do have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
My question is just, will this still go to the city council either way, if we reject it or approve it?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner, any action either to recommend approval or denial of this will move forward, correct?
Yep. And my only secondary comment would be just listening to, and everybody has a good point here, is when we looked at the first application, you know, I brought up the fact that we were within X amount of feet from part of a park. And the city attorney kind of weighed in on that and said, not an issue. You know, we think we're okay with that one. And now we've got one that's in a zoning area that has no setbacks requirements. And so zoning-wise, we are right where we were on the first application. But the first application was reviewed by the city attorney. Here, we're looking at a lot of what-ifs. What if kids gather at this intersection? What if kids gather at this park? What if kids gather at the, what if kids are here? You know, and so are we, the only thing I ask myself is, are we giving fair and equal assessment to both applications? Because the first one is technically within 500 feet of a park. And, you know, there's a grassy area that could be used as a picnic area, if you really want to get down to it. And the city attorney deemed that it would not be an issue. So that would be my only discussion as far as looking at the applications from a equal playing field as far as tonight goes. We're going to have additional ones, I'm sure. And so this isn't the end of this discussion. Obviously, there's going to be further discussion, as John indicated in his opening remarks, about this is just a very, very beginning step in the process. And so there's going to be more evaluation. Only one is going to be able to open per our ordinance, and that one will be determined by the comments we received tonight, the comments the research he does after, because he's took notes, obviously, of all the concerns, and we'll probably circle back with the city attorney, make sure that we're doing what we need to do. And so that would be my only discussion that I would have on that. So, Commissioner Sweeting?
I would like to add that a part of my decision process is not just the park allotment, but it is also that the co-owner or like the neighbor of the building is not in agreement with this. Whereas in the first case, the building is owned by the same person. I think that that says a lot towards if we are going, or like as cannabis gets introduced into our community, that it is in a space where the people who are directly next to the space also feel comfortable with that. That is a huge part that, to me, makes the cases very different, not just about parks, but very much space that there is co-sharing or coexisting in.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Bose?
And I would also say that on the first application, there was nobody that showed up to disagree or have any objections to the site. So that says a lot. I think that's pretty telling as well. But I also agree with your point in the sense that it does meet the criteria as set forth in the city code. So that's something to consider as well.
Okay. Commissioner Bose, thank you. Commissioners, any other conversation? If not, okay, we had a motion to deny. We had a second. Okay, so we will go ahead, in absence of any further discussion, take a vote. So all in favor of denying the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye, and I'm a no on that, so.
So I will note for the record that that was 5 ayes to recommend denial and 1 nay for.
4.
4. That's, yeah.
It's okay.
I wrote 4.
It's total 5.
And 1, Chair Messina that voted against that motion, that is correct?
Yep.
Okay. Then that motion we brought forward to the city council on May 5th for final action. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, we're on to our third public hearing. And this will be Fred Weiland, variance 2025-08, side yard setback and garage move for 413 2nd Street West. And again, Justin Forney with our staff report.
Just a correction,
Yeah.
Chair Messina, I don't believe this is a public hearing.
It is not.
No.
Oh, okay, so we'll make that correction to the agenda then. Do we concur that is not a public hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that
Okay.
incorrectly noted. Notification was made to individuals in 350 feet, but it's not technically a public hearing requirement under our code.
All right, so we're just going to take this as part of the regular agenda then. Thank you. All right, Justin, go ahead.
So this is 2 requests. One of them is to move a structure onto the site, and the other one is a street side setback. This is a picture of the front of the property at 413 2nd Street West. The arrow is pointing to the general location of where the structure would be moved. In the city ordinance, there's a structure move component for when a new structure is proposed with the potential for a difference from the surroundings, whether it's moved or built or modified. It can be sent to the Board of Design Control, which is a Planning Commission duty, with a recommendation to the City Council. The site is also a heritage preservation site locally, and the HPC did review this proposal. In fact, last summer, there was a proposal for a different structure to be moved. It was to move a structure that was adjacent to this home, and the applicant, after had that approved, decided to just rent that structure out as a rental property, and he has since found this new structure to move onto the site to be used as a garage. The HPC approved this one with the condition that it have damage to it be repaired. The structure is from the Rosemount area. It's a vacant home. It has some damaged siding, rotten boards. It was built in 1949. It's 920 square feet. It's about 46 feet long by 21 feet wide. Myself and a building inspector went in and looked at the structure and saw that it has some missing siding. It has some fascia and damage and some window damage. The building inspector did try to look at the sill plates, which is just the bottom of the walls where it connects to the concrete slab, for any damage, and he didn't find any, but it was hard to see because it has walls, covers on the, drywall on the inside and then siding on the outside. But he was just a little concerned because the dirt was fairly high on the cement slab. And noticed that the center wall is likely a load-bearing wall, which would make it difficult to use as a garage. He commented that, the building inspector commented that there's a good chance that a engineer could have a plan for a beam and post to replace that center wall. This area where it's the structure would be moved to is predominantly mid to late 19th century homes. Across Forest Street, there's a Rambler built in 1959, and then across 2nd Street West, there's a house that was built in 2004. Proposed changes of the applicant to the structure include repair and repaint all the siding, convert the 2nd Street facing cross gable end into an open porch, increase the wall height from 8 to 10 feet with concrete, and install garage doors on the south side, which would be rear facing. The time frame of the applicant to make these changes and move the structure, he's stated would be 2 years. This year he proposes to move it, excavate and install the concrete work, and make the structural and cosmetic changes next year. The site is 413. It's on the center of the screen. In this aerial picture, there's a trailer parked about where the house would be set, that would be used as the garage. These are some pictures of the proposed structure. A lot of the paint is peeling, which is those areas that are looking kind of gray. And then there's some damaged siding on the bottom, which would be where the wood siding is kind of soft and the paint isn't sticking, and those areas would have to be replaced for sure. Again, on the front, there's an area that was removed of siding and some other siding damage, and then damage to the fascia and the edge of the roof. And then there didn't appear to be any damage to the shingles, but you could tell that they are old. This would be the side that would be facing south, where the garage door would be located. This was an area that was shown to have some rotten wood around the window framing. This is the area that it would be moved to. These red arrows are my arrows pointing at some thin markers that he had put in the ground. It's hard to see without those red arrows, but those are pointing to the corners of where the structure would be if it was to meet the 10-foot side setback from the property line along Forest Street. And this is looking at it from a different vantage point from Forest Street. So the variance I'll talk about in a second will move those corner arrows closer to the camera by 5 feet. These are some photographs the applicant submitted showing where the building would be located by using the trailer to show kind of where those wall areas would be. He may have some other comments on that. One that is kind of easy to tell what's going on here is on this one here, you can see that it would be lining up with the front of the front of the proposed structure would be lining up with the front of the house, not the front of the porch, but the front of the house behind the porch. These are sketch drawings that the applicant drew showing the structure with the improvements that he's proposing. There would be a front open porch on the side facing 2nd Street, and these are two drawings showing those changes. The variance for the street side setback can be reviewed by the Board of Zoning Adjustment and Appeals, which is the City Council with Planning Commission review. There's 10 feet required for setback from the property line along a side street. The applicant is proposing 5 feet. A variance can be approved with findings of fact supporting a variance. And I'll go through those with you. One of the most important ones is that there needs to be a physical surrounding shape or topographical condition of the land that makes practical difficulty to the owner if they were required to meet the strict ordinance requirement. So I went here, I added a list here of some physical surroundings that are different from most other properties. The area near Forest Street is the most level part of the lot. Further west increases those slope issues and also would increase damage to the roots of those trees. Forest Street is a dead-end street that won't be extended because of the great drop-off that occurs after that dead end. And Forest Street in this area is very narrow. It only serves 3 properties. And those issues create a very large boulevard area. The area between the edge of the street and the property line is over 20 feet. Under most circumstances, it's between 12 and 17 feet. Similar circumstances aren't readily found in other areas of town. The variance request is not based on increasing the value or the income potential of the. It wouldn't be detrimental to the area. The setback from the street would be consistent with areas that comply with the full setback due to the wide boulevard, just meaning that if you got a variance for 5 feet from the 10-foot setback, it would still be as far from the street as most other side garages. The variance would not impair light or air or cause congestion, fire, danger, public safety, or impact property values in the area from the variance. The variance is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. This is a site plan showing the location of the garage with the dimensions of the structure measured out. This is showing where the location of the garage would be if it met the 10-foot setback, so 5 feet would be half that distance. The slope as you get closer to the house rises significantly, and also there's a row of trees that are fairly close to that east side of that proposed garage. Like I mentioned before, the garage door would be located on the back of the structure, so it would be loaded from the rear. As for alternatives for location of the garage, of course, there's an area towards the back of the property, but that is a driveway to access some small garages that are on the back of the home. This is a diagram showing the slope difficulties. It's difficult to see on here, but John, if you wouldn't mind passing that large copy down. you can see that the slope differential, if the structure was maintaining that 10-foot setback, a significant cut and fill to level out that location. And with that, I can stand for any questions. The applicant is also here.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Pass this down here, sorry. All right, this is not a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open it up to commissioners for any questions and comments. Give them time to look at the drawing here. John, or Justin, I have a question. So this is kind of a unique one. The sunset clause. So the first year is for what part of this?
It would be for excavation, pouring the concrete, and moving the structure.
So it would be able to sit in that position, in that area there, in that condition for how long prior to it being brought up to the standard that we're asking in the conditions? How long would it be able to sit like that and look like that?
Our typical approvals, we have a sunset clause on it for the action to begin for 1 year. So if he began the process of what he got the approvals for, the sunset clause would be valid, or wouldn't be, he would have met his requirement. But as far as how, we've never come in, we haven't had a time frame before for things. I did comment in the staff report that this 2 years is typically longer than a garage construction would take, but it certainly does take that long sometimes. After they start the process of making the improvement that they've been approved for, they pretty much rely on what the building department requires for timeliness. A permit is generally good for 1 year, but as long as they are continuing to work on the project and are having regular inspections done, that process is extended until it's complete. The Planning Commission and Council are able to put conditions on any of the approvals that would require a certain timeline of events.
So essentially, as it is written currently, there's no, once it's moved, as long as something happens and keeps happening, and it can stay in a, how am I trying to put this, in a condition other than the way it's supposed to be for how long? That's what I'm trying to get to, is it just until it's done in perpetuity, until it's complete, as long as something's happening?
Well, it doesn't, as it is right now, there's not a condition that has a timeline.
Okay.
I'm just passing along what the applicant told me is his plan.
Okay.
The building department issues permits that are good for 1 year, and if they go over 1 year, they will give a extension as long as they are continuing to do work. If it seems like they're not continuing to do work and the permit is just open without work being done, then they will start enforcement action on closing out the permit.
Okay.
And Mr.
Oh, yeah,
Chair,
go ahead.
I would strongly suggest that you address that within the conditions of approval tonight, because I think you bring up a valid point that a continuation of this could be longer than what we would like to see on the property there. So to establish a time frame for when the building would be improved per the plans in there, I think that's a good suggestion, whatever that might be. I do believe the 2-year period that was established by the applicant, frankly, is too long. I think it's something that the exterior of the building can be done in a much shorter period of time. And I don't know, Mr. Weiland, if there is a time period of 6 months or something related to that would be amenable to get the work done?
Well, if I can
Yeah, come on up, please.
My name is Fred Weiland, and I live at 413 Second Street West. And when I, throughout that period of 2 years, it's based on the idea that I have to have contractors involved in excavating the concrete work. The building mover has to be coordinated after the concrete's done. And then the exterior of the building is primarily going to be able to be worked on during the summer. I don't foresee being able to paint a structure like this in the wintertime. And so therefore interior work would continue for the structural purposes during the winter, and then we'll be back onto the exterior come the summer. But, you know, I do have to coordinate these things with other people. And, you know, I don't want to drag this on any longer than I have to. That would be ridiculous. We'd have another Thorwood, and I don't think anybody wants that. So if you have any other questions.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, sorry. So, once you get the approvals, do you have any type of a time frame as to when they would actually start, or do you think it would actually take more than towards the end of the summer before you could get the concrete work and the house moved to the site?
I have nothing scheduled with any contractors
You
at this
haven't yet?
point, because
Okay.
until I get a permit, you know, I'm kind of wasting their time. I have had discussions with an excavator. I have had discussions with the concrete man. I have had a building mover come out to the site and look at the structure, and we've actually run the route that would have to travel to get back here, and he's quoted me a price for that. And at this point, you know, it's like any other building project. You have to get your contractors in a row, and they've all got to work in a timely fashion, and you have to keep after them because, you know, and so there's certain things I can't do, which are all of the above. But my specialty will be in renovating the building itself. And, you know, like I say, there's certain things I can do over the winter, and there's certain things that are going to be required to do in the summer.
Was the last use of this structure a house?
It was a house.
Okay. And you plan to use it as a
Garage.
garage?
And to address the concern about the sill plate under the structure, when the building mover lifts it up, it'll be all exposed. And so it'll be very easy to put a new sill plate on.
Okay.
And in fact, some of the siding that from the area the garage door is going to be placed, we'll be able to use for patching other areas. There'll be that whole north wall, when it gets removed, where the porch will come in, there'll be more siding there that I'll be able to access, so it all remains consistently the same. And it'll remain wood siding, which is in character with the historic district. And we'll see what we come up with for windows. So.
All right, Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Peters?
Listening to the plan, there's definitely phases, and I just wondered in terms of timeline, if it would work to say, like, set a timeline once the house is in place. Because it's one thing to see, you know, the excavation being done and things like that. It's a whole other thing to see that house in that condition, you know. So I don't know, is a reasonable timeline after it's in place, 6 months, or, you know, I just don't know what the amount of work would be, or a timeline to at least have the exterior done so that, you know, neighbors and people looking at it are seeing something that fits with the character of the neighborhood sooner. So I'm just throwing out 6 months if there's someone who knows better.
Right, and the reason I brought it up is because the actual thing is a variance here. So this thing is like, it's exceeding it by 5 feet, both sides. So we're edge to edge, so it's going to be significantly wider than what is normally allowed. So we have the variance, that's what's at discussion tonight, part of that. So when we're looking at an exception, we have to be cognizant of the other variances that we've done over the years and make sure that we're in line and we have that time frame. But I do think that once it gets set here in this property, that there has to be a time frame to get that outside looking, the inside, you know, it's a garage. It is what it is. As long as you can shut the door, nobody sees inside, it is what it is, right? But there has to be a time frame for that exterior work to be done so that we don't see continued rot. We don't see broken windows. Or not broken windows, but broken sill plates, and that needs to be done. That has to have a time frame on it as soon as this building is set into place. And that's the condition I would be looking at, is the time frame is once it's set into place. I don't want to sit there. We've already got a variance, right? So we're already in 5 feet into a 10-foot setback, which is an exception that the Hastings Preservation Commission has already made, right? HPC already reviewed that, is that correct? So, yep, okay. So they've already reviewed it and they're okay with that. So now we want to take the structure itself and look at it and go, okay, we got the variance. Now we want to look on the outside like it's something that should be there, or it's not going to be completely out of place. And I think that's where we're going. We need a time frame to get that out, exterior work done, at minimum. That's what I'm looking at. So that's what I'm looking for input from my fellow commissioners as to what.
I tend to agree with that, but I guess it really depends on when he gets that set in place. If he doesn't get it set in place until September 30th, let's say, is that going to be enough time for him to get the project done before winter sets in? And so I don't know if there's a way to set the time frame so as, you know, it's during, you know, from, like, we do snow removal from April, you know, November 1st to April 1st, maybe.
Right.
It would be, you know, say 6 months after it's set in place, but excluding those winter months or something like, to that effect, maybe, if that's maybe agreeable.
Commissioner Sweeney, go ahead.
I feel like if we put a cap of 6 months on it, then that's also up to the builder to choose a time when those repairs can be done, and not letting it sit there for an extra 5 months just because it was winter, and maybe just place it after winter. And that is, I don't know if that's feasible or not, but trying to plan a little bit ahead of, get it set in place when there is time to make some of those repairs and some of those people are able to be booked.
Thank you. Commissioner Albert?
Did you want to respond to that, Brad? I saw you make a move to come up.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you can stay up there.
Someone on the plan
Yeah.
attacking this, and if you bring up the picture of, well, any of it. But the front porch area and then the west front that you would see from the road, there we go. So where this door is and to this side here is gonna be where the porch is. Obviously, that would be the north face, and that would be the first tack with the porch facade in there. And then to work the west side, so everything from the road would be the first tack of getting this addressed. And then, of course, garage door will have to go in, and that's a very minor side then at that point, because that'll encompass most of that area where the in between the two windows, for instance. And so by managing this, doing parts, you know, obviously the most noticeable parts first, and then we'll finish up with the side that faces the 413 structure.
Albert, go ahead.
I think Commissioner Sweeney, what she was alluding to is when she was talking about moving the house, for lack of a better term, when does that need to be accomplished by? You know, is that a thing where you can get that moved and put in place in the next, say, 6 months?
I think I can, and I'm without consulting contractors and their schedules, but I'd be hoping to have the house here and set in the end of 3 months. And that would give me some time here yet this summer to work on the exterior. And then through the winter, the interior structural components can be addressed. And then next year would be finish up on exterior.
Commissioner, was that where you were kind of going? So is there a possibility to get all of the base work done, all of the excavation, all the concrete, and say that's done by August. What's your time frame on
hoping-
being
I'm
able to?
hoping sooner,
But what's your time frame for being able to move the house? Do you have until next year to move the house?
no, the house has to be moved, probably in the next 2 months in order to facilitate the building that gentleman's doing on that lot
On the lot in Rosemount.
in Rosemont.
Okay.
Okay, one more.
Yes, go ahead.
Are you doing most of the structural outside work yourself and interior work? Is that the plan then too?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be handling most of the exterior,
Okay.
and the interior I may need to get some professional guidance with, but we'll see how that goes. And everything will be done per permit and building code.
Of course.
With inspections.
Commissioner Peters?
So when you're saying 2 years, are you actually meaning 2 summers, not 24 months? Because when I hear 2 years, I think 24 months. But is this summer year 1 and next summer year 2? So in reality, it's really only about 14 or 16 months?
That's closer to what I've really got in mind. I don't want to drag this out, into 2027. But again, you have to take into effect, what other contractors' schedules are and availability and things. And, so I threw out a generalized 2 years.
Okay. Commissioner Sweeting?
If it does get placed somewhere in like end of the next 2 months, potentially maybe more of a year would be reasonable to allow for a couple months this year and a couple months at the beginning of next summer, but that this is kind of done by the end of next, there is, or at least outside wise, inside is totally different ballgame, but just that it aesthetically does not look falling apart as much within, say 5-ish good months of weather.
I see where you're going, like 1 calendar year with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the time
Feels
it's
like
set
2.
in place.
Could I suggest, just to give them a little more leeway, maybe instead of 1 calendar, say 15 months, and that actually gives them some of that extra summertime, and gives him a little more leeway, but it still gives us, I think, a reasonable time frame.
Commissioner Howard, go ahead.
Or is it a case that we do the 1-year sunset clause at the placement of the building with the condition being it needs to be in place by July 31st, I'll just say. And that's when the 1-year sunset begins.
Either way, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure on the wording and the.
Well, I have a little familiarity with house moves, and that might be a difficult one as far as the move goes, because he is correct on, you can't just find anybody to move a house. It has to be a house mover, and there's only a couple in the area that do them, and it takes a while to set them up and to get them moved and get the permits and get it's a process. So, that might not be enough time. I'm just talking about from the time it's set in to the time the exterior is
Right.
done is more of what I was looking at. But as far as the move goes, he's at the mercy of 1 or 2 house movers, if that, available.
Could we agree on a sunset of September 30th of next year? That would give me the
Yeah.
entirety of the summer then, weather-wise to,
Yeah, September 30th, sure.
okay.
I'm okay with that. Anyone else?
I don't have a
Feels
problem with that.
reasonable.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Okay, so we want to go ahead and, any further discussion? Because if there's none, I'll entertain a motion, and then we'll make sure that the motion includes that condition.
And Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification on
Sorry,
this.
go ahead.
We have 2 actions that are going to be before the commission tonight. One is going to be on the Board of Design Control relating to the structure itself, and I think that's the appropriate time to put in that sunset clause if you choose to do so.
Okay.
The second would be the variance, which this really isn't a part of. Thank you.
Understand, okay, yeah, good point. Keep them separate. Yeah, we will definitely do that. Yep. Commissioners, any other discussion on either one of those subjects? No. Okay. So, I'll take a motion. Let's address the variance first with the condition. John, do you recommend the condition be on the variance or the other side?
Mr. Chair, I'd
The other one.
recommend the Board of Design Control on the move,
Yeah,
that's what
okay.
it should be on.
All right,
Thank you.
sounds good. All right. Commissioners, motion. Commissioner Peters.
I'll make a motion to approve variance 2025-08. I'm trying to find the specific language for it.
Side yard setback in
Thank
garage.
you. Yes.
413 Second Street West, maybe?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Swedien, second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The first motion carries. Okay, so second one,
I can do it.
Commissioner Swedien.
I move to approve 2025-08 with the condition that the exterior of the structure, part two, the move an existing rambler from outside the city to the subject property to be used as a garage. With the condition that the exterior of the garage be in accordance with HPC, aesthetics by September 30th, 2025. 26, there we go, yep, 26. With the recommended conditions also outlined by staff.
All right. Nice job. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Moe, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that'll also move forward to City Council on May 5th for final action. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, John. Thank you for everybody coming, we appreciate it. Before you leave, I didn't want to forget to thank everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate the community input. Other actions, other business? John?
No other actions or business, just a report on our zoning code. We continue to work on that behind the scenes here. We will have, I think, various discussion items that we want to discuss with the Planning Commission here in the coming months, but work does continue on that one. We do have our next regularly scheduled meeting coming up in 2 weeks on the 12th. I don't have anything scheduled at this time for the meeting, but I'll let you know what happens.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Commissioners, any other business? All right, if not, we will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Swedien, second.
Second.
Commissioner Hallberg, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.